Welcome back to Film Recaps. Today I will show you a biography, comedy, drama film from 2011 titled The Untouchables. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Please subscribe and turn on the post notification without wasting any more time. And like a video get started. One late night in Paris, Driss is driving his manager Philippe through the city. While holding up in rush hour gridlock gets excessively exhausting, Driss brakes as far as possible and starts driving. Very quick, avoiding different vehicles and not thinking often about traffic signs. This makes the police pursue him, and Driss wagers €100 that he can lose them. Be that as it may, in the wake of driving under an extension, the police get up to speed by ambushing them from the two sides. Driss doesn't look excessively stressed, however, and this time he wagers €200 that he can get them an escort. The police make him leave the vehicle and he begins acting offendedly and telling them Philippe can't move and he was taking him to the medical clinic. The officials find confirmation of this when they track down the wheelchair in the truck, and when moving toward Philippe, they see him shaking, which is likewise a demonstration. Seeing as it's a crisis, the police pardon Driss for braking as far as possible and proposition themselves as escorts while heading to the clinic. To celebrate winning the bet, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and when they show up at their objective, he imparts a smoke to Philippe when the police are gone. Driss guarantees he'll deal with it and drives them away not long before the clinic staff could track down them. This kinship started quite a while back. Philippe and his colleague Magali are holding meetings to track down another guardian for him. Be that as it may, it isn't going excessively well, since all candidates have exceptionally standard or off-kilter replies to their inquiries' questions. Yet, they're out of nowhere astounded when Driss storms in, disregarding the reality it isn't his turn yet, in light of the fact that he just believes a few papers should be marked saying they won't employ him so he can get the joblessness benefits. He's dull and a little inconsiderate, in any event, hitting on Magali. However, Philippe thinks that he is entertaining. Also, requests that he return the following day for his marked papers. Driss returns to his home in a modest area and attempts to scrub down while all his little kin annoy him, just figuring out how to make it happen in time on account of his sister Mina, who is somewhat more established than the others and more dependable. While trusting that their mother will show up, he glances through the window and notification his sibling Adama escaping a dubious vehicle. At the point when the kid enters the loft, he simply says he was at school and leaves again later, getting his sack, making Driss be considerably more certain that he's looking for trouble. At night, his mother shows up, and he gifts him a Fabergé he took and tells her he's been away for an extended getaway when she inquires. She is distraught to see him, however, in light of the fact that he vanished for quite a long time and never called. Furthermore, presently he's appeared out of the blue as though her house was a lodging, as she's totally finished with every one of his falsehoods and she has different youngsters she needs to take care of. She throws him out and tells him not to return. Driss goes through the late evening having a smoke and a few snacks with some local companion. The following day, Driss returns to Philippe's home for his papers, and he's gotten by the maid, Yvonne, who shows him around the spot and enlightens him regarding Philippe's everyday schedule. She additionally shows him the room he would get for himself with his own personal washroom. Driss can't resist the urge to gaze at the bath before he's hauled to see Philippe, who offers a marked piece of paper yet in addition to an open position. Driss acknowledges the 1-month preliminary, and Philippe lets him know he wagers he won't most recent 14-day. In the wake of carrying his things to his room, Driss is shown how to deal with Philippe. He should figure out how to keep his legs animated, how to place him in the wheelchair, how to help him shower and put on something else. Things get abnormal when Driss finds he should put on him a few high stockings and even clean his butt after Philippe utilizes the washroom. Yet regardless of the amount he whines and says he will not do those tasks, he winds up tolerating them as an aspect of his responsibility. Later at night, while he's partaking in a nibble on the rooftop, he's intruded on by Philippe's little girl Alyssa and her beau Bastien, who are searching for a confidential spot to make out, and he kicks them both out in the wake of declining to share his brew. Driss rapidly becomes acclimated to the day-to-day daily practice with Philippe, regardless of whether at first he makes a few missteps he gains from, such as giving the telephone to Philippe as opposed to putting it on his ear or failing to remember the child's screen while having a shower. He additionally figures out how to sort out his mail in various envelopes, the vast majority of the letters he opens for Philippe. However, there's a progression of private ones he isn't permitted to check out. At the point when he finds a flyer advancing female escorts, he chooses to begin a record only for those, rather than tossing them in the waste as Philippe says. It's not all work in this new life, however. Driss actually makes a point to live it up. He continues to attempt to hit on Magali without any result, and now and then calls escorts to join him in bed. One morning, after Yvonne comes to his space to reprimand him for being late, she discovers some hazardous weapons in his pack, yet she doesn't remark on them yet. Driss' work today is to drive Philippe around. Yet he won't place him in that frame of mind of a van as though he was freight. So all things considered, he takes him on one of the extravagant vehicles that don't have any idea much use. Philippe, who first thinks this isn't reasonable and says they ought to be logical, is soon finding out about a quicker, less exhausting ride, in spite of the fact that Yvonne actually objects. At the point when they attempt to leave the structure, there's a neighbor stopped at their entry, disregarding the sign on the entryway that says it's illegal. Driss burns through no time and pursues the person, snatching him by the front of his shirt, undermining him until he moves the vehicle. Yet again Philippe is intrigued by his activities, yet Yvonne objects. The pair goes to a historical center, where Philippe is intending to purchase a piece of craftsmanship that Driss considers it not worth the cash since it's simply a red smear on the material. Subsequently, Philippe meets with a relative of his, who lets him know everybody is concerned about Driss since he can be brutal. He's likewise found he has a lawbreaker record. Yet Philippe couldn't care less. He appreciates Driss in light of the fact that he doesn't feel sorry for him and wouldn't fret messed around with him. After one more bombed endeavor at hitting on Magala, Driss eats with Yvonne in the kitchen while standing by listening to Philippe direct a letter to Magala, guaranteeing it's a confidential discussion. Yvonne switches off the child screen and continues to make sense of what's happening. Philippe is pen pals with a lady called Eleanor. Those are the letters he didn't allow Driss to open. Yet, he's never met Eleanor face to face. Their relationship is absolutely epistolar. Discussing love, Driss prods Yvonne for the looks the landscaper gives her constantly, prior to hitting the sack. He's attempting to rest when he hears a few strange sounds coming from the child's screen. Philippe is experiencing difficulty relaxing, not being able to overlook him regardless of whether he attempts. Driss goes to his room and tenderly aids him through the assault with calming words and a wet material to wipe his face. Philippe at last nods off, just to get up again minutes after the fact, saying he really wants air. This time Driss doesn't hold back. He puts Philippe on the wheelchair, covers him with covers, and takes him out for a walk around the waterway. This is whenever Philippe first has seen Paris around evening time in quite a while, and presently he's more loose. He makes sense of for Driss that the medication can unfortunately do a limited amount a lot, and he at times encounters ghost torment. At the point when they see a few young ladies strolling by, Philippe likewise admits he isn't fit for pleasuring a lady due to his circumstance, yet he actually can partake in some fulfillment when he gets his ears rubbed in light of the fact that they are delicate zones. At the point when the apparition Torment takes steps to show up once more, Driss imparts one of his joints to Philippe, who has misgivings from the outset yet winds up adoring it. Subsequently, they go to a cafe, where they mess around while sharing a dinner, and Philippe chooses to share a greater amount of his story. He met his better half when they were understudies, and soon after they got hitched, she had 5 unsuccessful labors and was determined to have a serious, terminal disease. That is the point at which they took on Alyssa. Philippe has consistently cherished contests, outrageous games, and speed, and a paraglider gave him that. It was during a paragliding meeting that terrible weather conditions made him crash and break his vertebrae, in spite of the fact that he actually thinks his genuine debilitation isn't a seat yet living without his significant other. In the wake of messed around so more, Philippe recollects the date and acknowledges Driss has passed his 1-month preliminary, so he's presently authoritatively recruited. In any case, he wants to begin by bringing back the Fabergé he took in light of the fact that it was a gift from his significant other. She would give him one consistently, and he has precisely 25, coordinating their time together. The following day, Driss goes to converse with Mina while she's leaving school, who is a piece insulted, since he hasn't been noting her messages but to request that she search for the egg. She likewise informs him concerning a few police that have been calling their home. Thereafter, he visits Adama, who admits he was found with 30 grams on him. Driss needs to take him to lunch, yet Adama declines and on second thought gets in the equivalent dubious vehicle from previously. Later on, Driss is permitted to be available while Philippe directs his letter for Eleanor to Magali. He thinks this purple composition is exceptionally exhausting and that Philippe ought to be more straightforward. He's additionally confused to hear that this has been happening for quite a long time and they won't ever trade pictures. At the point when he finds her telephone number on one of the letters, he accepts it as a sign and calls her, obliging Philippe to take the telephone, lastly address her external the composed word. Their discussion goes so indeed. Philippe is presently on the telephone with her constantly. Indeed, even just before he and Driss go to the show, during which Driss snickers and makes fun of the outfits. The following day, Driss persuades Philippe to acknowledge to trade pictures with Eleanor. Also, picks one of him in the wheelchair. Subsequently, while he's painting, Alyssa blasts into his space to ask him for cigarettes, ridicules him for attempting to be imaginative. Blowing up, he throws her out prior to going to see Philippe, who is as of now asking Yvonne to change the picked picture for one of him when he wasn't quadriplegic. She conceals the image inside the escort document just before Driss burst in, whining about Alyssa and telling Philippe he wants to teach her, something Yvonne concurs with. Philippe consents to converse with her, yet he's generally amazed when Driss neglects it that he's been painting. Days proceed to pass, and the kinship among Philippe and Driss keeps on developing. Driss takes him to play in the snow and carries him with him when he goes out for a run. Philippe gets him his most memorable suit and chastens his girl while Driss pays attention to him through the child screen. At the point when Driss completes his most memorable artwork, he shows it to Magali, who slaps him when he attempts to kiss her. Philippe, notwithstanding, likes the canvas and commitments he'll attempt to sell it. Both of them live it up with one another, appreciating things like getting a quicker vehicle, sharing joints, and in any event, recruiting companies together. At the point when Philippe's birthday comes, he isn't extremely amped up for it. Consistently, he professes to be shocked that they're setting up a party and needs to meet with this multitude of family members that mainly come to see him on the date to check he's as yet alive. Philippe says it'll be in every way rather exhausting, while he and the visitors partake in some live old-style music. Driss looks for Alyssa, who is crying in her room subsequent to having taken a portion of Yvonne's pills, which won't kill her as she anticipated. The motivation behind why she's miserable is that Bastien parted ways with her and called her a tart, so she requests that Driss converse with the kid, which he acknowledges to accomplish at a cost. In the meantime, Philippe is showing Driss painting to his family member and figures out how to persuade him to get it for 11,000 euros. Driss returns to the lounge area and talks with Yvonne, who lets him know Magali is in a relationship with somebody named Fred, yet things are somewhat rough right now, giving Driss trust. As the party fades away, Philippe causes Driss to pay attention to the absolute generally significant tunes and old-style music history, however he can joke accordingly. After the band is finished, he brings his unit and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind, and Fire before he begins moving squarely in the center of the floor. He's a mind-blowing artist and even persuades the remainder of the party to go along with him and dance with him, which Philippe appreciates watching. Afterward, while taking care of Philippe, Driss opens Eleanor's most recent letter to him. She sent her image, showing she's fairly lovely, and is letting him know they ought to meet 1 week from now when she visits Paris. At the point when the day of the date comes, Yvonne and Driss put Philippe through many outfits until they view it as the ideal one. Also, since Yvonne the one will take Philippe to the date, Driss utilizes his free day to visit Bastien and undermines him until the kid acknowledges to apologize to Eliza and to bring her croissants consistently. He additionally requests that he fix his hair. A while later, he visits his mom at work, however just to watch her from far off. At the cafe, Yvonne and Philippe are hanging tight for Eleanor, who is extremely late. Subsequent to hanging tight for 60 minutes, Philippe surrenders, calls Driss to request that he remove him, and afterward leaves the eatery without seeing Eleanor as showing up simultaneously. That very evening, Philippe takes Driss with him in his confidential plane and gives him cash he got for selling the image, making him limitlessly blissful. They come to the wide open the following morning, and Philippe chooses to go paragliding, hauling Driss with him too. Driss maintains that nothing should do with it. However, after at first blowing a gasket, he closes up partaking in the experience. At the point when they get back, Adama is there hanging tight for Driss and gets reprimanded when he sees scars all over. Adama will in any case not let Driss know what's going on in his life, however, so Driss makes him stand by in his room while he calls Mina to tell her not to stress and goes to take care of Philippe. Philippe, in any case, isn't lethargic yet. In the wake of making Driss take a gander at a composition with him, he gets some information about his family, which Driss, at first would rather not discuss, yet in the long run surrenders. It turns out Adama in fact isn't his sibling and his folks aren't really his folks. They're his auntie and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 since they could never have children, and his genuine name is Bakary Bassari, but since different children had that name, they called him Idris, and that became Driss. At some point, his auntie marvelously had the option to consider, and after his uncle passed on, there were different men and more children also. Similarly, Driss had conversed with him about Alyssa. Philippe calls attention to that Adama needs discipline, so he fires Driss so he can be there with his family since he can't spend his entire life dealing with an elderly person. The following morning, after Bastien has brought his everyday croissant while wearing a superior hairstyling, Driss gathers his packs and prepares to go. Magali comes to say her farewells, and when Driss attempts to hit on her one final time, Magali acquaints him with his life partner Fred, which is short for Frederic, ends up. Magali isn't keen on men, and Driss abandons the spot. On out of the house, he gives the child's screen back to Yvonne and prods her for having misled him about Magali just to play with him. Consequently, she gives him the escort record he had begun, and he's frustrated to find The image he had picked is concealed there. Driss discards the record, yet he saves the photograph for himself. Yet again, once outside, he finds a vehicle obstructing the entry, so he requests that he move away, regardless of whether he works there any longer. At the point when Adama calls him out for it, Driss says it involves Standard. A couple of hours after the fact, the two siblings go get their mom at the station while back. At the house, Philippe is having his most memorable supper along with his new overseer, who is stodgy and exhausting, and Philippe chooses to leave him without having a chop. Since Yvonne is out on the town with the nursery worker, no one is there to chasten him for it. As days pass, Driss returns to his previous lifestyle. He spends time with his lifelong companions once more and tells the folks from the dubious vehicle not to annoy Adama any longer. At the point when he goes to a meeting he needs more insight for, he figures out how to prevail upon the business by referring to himself as sober-minded and utilizing all the craftsmanship information he gained while working for Philippe. This grounds him a task as a driver. Philippe keeps on disdaining his new guardian and is feeling steady awful. One evening, he declines anybody in the house to assist him with his ghost torment, so Yvonne calls Driss and requests that he come over. That is the manner by which they wind up in the circumstance all along, with the police pursuing after them first and accompanying them to the emergency clinic later. After that little experience, Driss drives Philippe to the coast, and seeing Ocean assists Philippe with quieting down. In a little while, Driss deals with Philippe's congested facial hair prior to taking him to an eatery for lunch, yet he doesn't remain, in light of the fact that another person will make Philippe's organization today. Driss wishes him karma, lastly gives him back his egg prior to leaving, and Philippe begins agonizing over being separated from everyone else until he sees who his date is, Eleanor, who is happy to see him and wouldn't fret the seat by any means. The genuine Count Philippe Pazzo di Borgo currently lives in Morocco. He has remarried and has 2 girls. The genuine Driss, really called Abdul Yasmin Selim, has his own firm and is likewise hitched with 3 youngsters. The 2 men keep on being exceptionally dear companions right up to the present day. If you enjoyed this video, then check out this video on your screen that I've selected just for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.